Hi everybody, it's Christina. Today I wanted to share with you the books that I have on my physical TBR right now. I am currently reading the Penguin Book of Christmas Stories. I'm about 100 pages in. It's going okay. I'm not a huge short story person, so I tend to get a little bit bored in the middle, but I'm pushing through. It's a perfect seasonal read, and it will probably be, if not my last book of the year, the second to last book. So that's what I'm reading right now. I do have a small pile of books here that I own that I haven't read yet. I try to keep my TBR pretty small. Ever since I read Marie Kondo's book Spark Joy a handful of years ago, her method of keeping books at first, although it sounded outlandish, which is to not keep any books that you haven't read, it actually makes sense to me now. The longer that time goes on, the more I realize that I would like to have a very small TBR and try to keep those books as fresh as possible. So one of my goals this year in 2024 was to finish or declutter all of the books on my TBR list. And I've done that except for 2 books. And I have those 2 books here to show you first. The first one is The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. This is actually my mom's copy. You can see her handwriting from when she was a teenager on here. I'm not a big epic fantasy person, which is why I have yet to read this, but I keep it around because I'm not going to get rid of my mom's book. I'm just debating whether or not I should move this off the TBR and onto another section of my bookshelf. I haven't decided yet, but in the coming months, I will definitely make that decision. Let me know if you think I should read The Hobbit. I know it's aimed at a younger audience, so it should be an easier read, but I haven't felt the pull to pick it up and read it. The next book, I know, it's Justin Timberlake's book. It's a coffee table book. I know, okay? You don't need to tell me. I know what he's done. But I was a Justin Timberlake super fan ever since I saw him in the commercial for NSYNC in concert on the Disney Channel in the 1990s. I've been a fangirl ever since, and in the last few years, I have become disillusioned, but it's hard to break old habits, okay? I'm still a fan. I saw him in concert this summer, and it was incredible. So, will I read this book? I'm not sure. I think I have to just sit down and read it one day, and if I don't, I do have a collection of NSYNC merchandise, and this will just go into the collection. But for now, it's still on the TBR shelf. I should also mention that when I talk about my TBR, I do not include a few things. The first one being my Stephen King collection. I'm reading all of his books in chronological publishing order, and so I collect them when I'm out at thrift stores, antique stores, yard sales, wherever. And I have a huge collection on my bookshelf. My bookshelf's over there, so that's why I'm looking in that direction. But I don't consider all of those books on my active TBR because I'm reading them one at a time in order. Similarly, I have a bunch of Rick Riordan books. I have read the Percy Jackson series twice. I read the Kane Chronicles once from the library, and then I read the first book in the Heroes of Olympus series before I gave up. And the reason I gave up is because the series are just so long, and they have so many characters that I need to remember, and it can be hard to remember them all. So I'm deciding whether or not I want to continue on. I think maybe in the summer, I can do a huge Rick Riordan binge read. For some reason, that seems like a summer series to me, but let me know. Should I continue on? I feel like his books are just an endless stream of the same series continued in new formats, and that can be a little overwhelming. And then finally, I have a small pile of books that I purchased this year in 2024 that I haven't gotten to yet, but I would love to read them in the next few months. So the first one, I'm actually going to eat my words. I don't plan to read this in the next few months because it's Ray Bradbury's The Halloween Tree. I got this at a yard sale this year. Didn't have time to read it for Halloween because I had so many library books, but I definitely want to read this come spooky season in 2025. I absolutely love the movie version of this book, and I know it's very different from the book itself, but when I found this stunning edition, I had to get it. It's not very long. It has illustrations in it. Look how cool. So I'm excited to finally read this come October. Or September. I should probably say September so that I don't run out of time. I then have 3 books that I purchased from the thrift store in one thrift trip. The first one is Our Missing Hearts by Celeste. I've never read any of her books, but I know she's a beloved author, and this one is blurbed by Stephen King. It says, "It's impossible not to be moved." So I'm ready to read this. I have no idea what it's about, but we will give it a try. Next, I have The Interestings by Meg Wolitzer. This is a book I've seen in so many booktube videos for years now. I don't even remember what it's about, but I recently heard they're turning it into a Broadway musical, which I absolutely love. So when I found it at the thrift store, I figured now's the time to read it. And then we have The Vanishing Half by Bennett. I read her book, The Mothers, this year, and I absolutely loved her writing style. I find that she writes very authentically. Her characters feel like real people, and so when I saw this at the thrift store, I picked it up. Then I have My Brilliant Friend, as I drop it, by Elena Ferrante. This, again, I've heard about it for years and years and years on BookTube. Recently, Emily Fox has been raving about this series, and I tend to trust her judgment. So when I found this at a yard sale for $1, I picked it up. And this was also on the New York Times Best Books of the 21st Century list. I believe that's what it was. And I'm excited to read it. I believe it's about a family in Italy, and as an Italian American, that speaks to me. So I'm excited to finally give this a try. And lastly, I have Less is Last by Andrew Sean Greer. This is the sequel to Less, which I read a few years ago and enjoyed, so I'm excited to finally get to this one as well. Those are all of the books that I own but haven't yet read. Like I said, I try to keep a very small TBR for myself, but let me know, do you have a huge TBR or a small one? Do you read all your books from the library? Let me know. I would love to hear, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.